Hi, friends and family. Hey, loved ones. Hey, fools. How are ya? So it's been a week since I shared last, and yeah, just the weeks are flying by, the days are flying by. I can't even believe how fast, like, it's all flying by, and how much is packed into each day and each week is amazing. And so, yeah, I just get floods and floods and floods, like now that the tap has been turned on. It's just rushing and rushing and rushing. And yeah, it's kind of funny in certain ways. Yeah, just rushing and gushing. so, um, yeah, there's so much. There's so much to say. What wants to be said today? So, yeah, last time I was sharing about letting go and surrendering and letting go of attachments and old stories and old ways of being. And um, I shared on my part two a little tarot reading that I did because I've been practicing and trying new things. And yeah, um, been nudged to try some new things and shake it up a little bit and revitalize and rewild and revivify. Um, and yeah, just kind of get out of those, you know, familiar, normal, comfortable, known routines to embrace the unknown and yeah, just to play and uh, expand into possibilities and what wants to be. And so, yeah, just continuing the continuity, practicing and playing. And so I did another tarot reading and I tried out a different spread last time. So, yeah, the day after that I shared my last video, yeah, was nudged to, yeah, practice again, do a little more practice. So I did this alchemical or this mandala spread with the four positions around, it's like this mandala spread that's kind of goes around in a spiral. And then to make the alchemical spread, it's a card on each corner to squaring the circle, which is like symbolic of the Philosopher's Stone. And that was just kind of fun to play with. Those represent like the elements, the four elements that go around that square the circle. But yeah, I had fun with that reading that I did, and yeah, just got some confirmations about just practice and play with it. But yeah, I did receive some good messages, and it was kind of a intense reading because there was 13 cards, and I won't go into all the cards, but just like some of the main messages and themes that I kind of appreciated. I mean, I appreciate them all, but yeah, there were certain messages in there for me to kind of like help me stay focused and on track. And I have been feeling I had been feeling like a little bit of stuckness, or like kind of like I was struggling and I had some conflicts to work out, and I was avoiding things and procrastinating, like working on certain things because it was like a fear of the unknown. Like, I don't know how to do this. And like, kind of just those old fears of I'm going to mess up or I'm going to make mistakes and all of that. And it was just silly. So yeah, just to kind of help me, um, yeah, follow through and everything. That's what I just got to choose. Okay, I'm just going to show up and practice, and I'm just going to, yeah, just let this unfold and just show up for it, and I'll learn and I'll make mistakes, and that's part of like success and succeeding and learning and creating is making those mistakes. So, but yeah, um, yeah, lots happened in this last week, and so it's just incredible. I always am blown away by what's possible when we are open to receive. And yeah, and we're willing to show up and just be. So, um, my first card that I got was telling me to focus and direct my energy to solutions, and that was the Knight of Swords in the position of the self, and pretty much it was a good time to apply my mental energies to solving problems, to seeking solutions and developing plans. It's time to evaluate, and results will come later. So it's just like, it's all about energy and my drive, like what is driving me. And so, yeah, I took that little note and just focus and direct my energy to solutions, inspiration, actions. Prioritize, observe, and plan, develop plans of action, show up and begin, do my best, and make efforts. Yeah. And then another one was telling me to get grounded and centered and present and just relax. Caution, there's trickster energy at play. And so, yeah, I did pay attention to that. And then another card that came up for me again was the Hanged Man. Just letting go of attachments. Just hang loose and bend in the breeze. Suspend beliefs, agendas, and desires to see clearly. Embrace the unknown. And then there was another card that was telling me optimism, faith, hope, and strength of will, endurance, regenerative, renewal, fertility, prosperity, devotion, determination, strength, and leadership. Share with others and reap the rewards, fulfillment, serving and giving from love, anticipation, wonder, and enthusiasm. And yeah, so of course those are all my favorite things right there. Then there was the moderating force that came up again, and it was temperance that came up again for me. It's time to come into alignment, watch for extremes and polarizations or a tendency to get locked into opposition. Rigidities are being dissolved and are tempered through the wisdom. Synthesis and blending, harmonization of dual nature, dual forces. And there is another card that said, use caution. Acting on impulse may stir up trouble. What signs, signals, messages are being ignored or suppressed or dismissed may be overlooked or avoided. This had to do with the inner alchemical union, alchemical marriage, spiritual maturity, self-governance, freedom, and accountability. So freedom, power, and accountability go hand in hand. Yeah. So, then there was another one, appreciation for the whole, for relationships, gifts, and potential. The great mystery, all pursuits are surrounded by positive forces. It's okay not to know. And light will shine through the darkness, illuminating the imbalances of what is out of alignment or not in balance with true harmony. Look at inequality and division. There are some relationships that are falling away that are no longer viable, sustainable, or reciprocal. And then another card, take actions to develop your soul and your medicine gifts. Draw on inner strength and inner energies, resources to move from thought to action. Because that's where it's kind of getting in my own way. Like I have all the things and the resources and the help and the motivation and yeah, all of that. But it was just kind of like, just where do I begin? And it's just like, take little steps. Like, yeah, sometimes I'm not sure why in certain ways, but that was like the hardest thing, is just to begin sometimes. And just to let go and just to dive in. But the last one was, it's time to share. It's time to share the good news and plans of actions with others. It's a signal to proceed with the new. Creative, fertile potential, excitement, blessings, passions, and joy. And so, yeah, that just did help confirm some things for me. And I'm just like, yeah, proud of myself for just showing up and practicing and being willing to learn. And so there were some things that were coming up for me, and yeah, I have been feeling this tension of being in transition for quite some time, where it feels like I'm between worlds or I'm going back and forth between the two, and sometimes feeling in limbo. And so, yeah, it's just kind of an interesting place to be, but here I am. So, yeah, it's just certain lingering things that got to be resolved and reconciled and allowed and acknowledged. And the cool thing is that I was feeling this last week a sense of completion and a sense of closure, and that I hadn't like kind of felt in a little while. And so, yeah, it was kind of a good feeling to help me, like, yeah, like things are being, um, you know, completed right now. And this is like the ending of a cycle for sure, and the beginning of a new one. And yeah, that's can be seen in every single moment. But yeah, for sure. And March 1st today does mark a big year anniversary that's significant to me. Um, Last year, 2020, March 1st, I had this really intense dream, the most intense dream that I like ever recall having as an adult. And yeah, it was one of my first videos that I shared with a friend, and I just put it on the public option just to if it, you know, putting it out there might help someone, or yeah, however that message needed to be shared, and I wanted to like also offer it. And I knew it was good messages, great messages for me, and then yeah, just sharing with others, like just for that prosperity, for that service to humanity, all of that. But it's hard to believe it's been a year now. Like I worked with that dream for all of last year, pretty much, and there were some powerful aspects that I got to integrate through um, working through my anger, and working with my anger, and listening, and playing like with like those emotions and those stories and those dynamics that were ready to be seen, ready to be illuminated, brought into the light, to be purified and seen. And yeah, so it is feels significant that it's now March 1st, 2021. And yeah, and also, yeah, there was um, another cycle of completion as well that'll come to me. Yeah. But yeah, that's a huge one for me too. And I just did want to share a little bit about like how huge that was for me this last year, to be able to work with and through my anger in ways that I never had been able to before, and to be able to be with it and to express it and to feel it and to allow it and to allow myself certain stories and certain um, themes that were coming up without like needing to push it away or distract myself or escape or keep busy or avoid it. And yeah, I learned a lot, and I integrated so much through allowing like my anger to speak to me, to listen, and to be medicine, like to claim it as medicine for me. So yeah, that was awesome. So this morning, yeah, I just wrote a little bit about that. So wow, it's been a whole year since my intense dream about anger as medicine, and boy was it ever good medicine to work with and through, helping me to claim my power, freedom, and wholeness, my responsibilities, my love for all of me, love for all I am and all I get to be, all love gets to be, integration and purification, claiming all of me, the bitch, the prude, the asshole, the saint, the shadow caregiver, the miser, the martyr, rescuer, the heroine, the monster, the villain, the angel, the lover, the devil, the black sheep and the scapegoat, the good girl and the rebel, the wounded mother, father, child, codependent narcissist, the healed healer and the tyrant, the walrus. I am that. I am all that I am. The magical child and the innocent, the poet, the orphan and the spiritual idealist, the tragic romantic, the victim and the outcast, the misfit weirdo iconoclast, the pioneer and the smartass, the silly clown and the sassafras, trickster, fraud, whore, and saboteur, the magician and high priestess, the goddess, the maiden, the sovereign, the warrior, the fool, the crone, the queen, the wise one and the sage, the student and the teacher, beloved, creator and created, dreamer, visionary, architect, artist, author, humble royal. So yeah, that was just some of those that I got to work with and got to play with, and yeah, and it was so potent and so amazing and so full and just all that I needed, all the love I needed for me, so that I could love all me, so I could be my love for all of me. And so how amazing and full and whole and sweet is all of that. It's good medicine. So like I do feel, yeah. That's just an amazing year for the shadow work last year and for integration. So thank you. Thank you to the old, and thank you to the past, and thank you to the present, and thank you to the future of what will be. Thank you to all. Yeah, all this magic and all this synchronicity, all the continuity, all the wholeness, fullness, sweetness, and all that life sustains. Yeah. And claiming that life, claiming my life for me. And yeah, and embodying this life and this love for me, in and through my own ways, for me and for we, because I love so deeply you and me and we. So yeah, there was a couple of things that were coming up, yeah, just for me to play with and work with, and it was just like lingering stuff, like these patterns are dissolving and breaking up, and then sometimes they come back in to give us like little pop quizzes, and yeah, we can either continue to dissolve them or let them fall away, or they can come back in and be reinforced and yeah, take on a life of their own again. So it's kind of funny. But having like, yeah, little stories come up in my mind sometimes, and it still does have to do with has my family changed their minds yet? Have they opened their minds yet? Have they seen the light yet? You know, kind of stuff. And it's just like, I'm kind of tired of that. Like, meh. I mean, I do, yeah, like I do hope that they get everything that they need and on their journey, and but it's just like this part of me that feels like, yeah, and it's my idealist. So, and it's also like has to do with my orphan too, like where I want to belong. I want to belong with them or to them, but I belong to myself, and I belong to love, and I belong to God. So yeah, I belong here, and I belong, yeah, um, to my family, yes, and they belong, yeah, with me. And but that doesn't mean that, yeah, I need to sacrifice myself or be untrue to me. And so like it's just, yeah, some of those old things coming up in certain ways, but um, just kind of looking at that, like, and questioning myself again too, like, why is it so important for me for them to see as I see, or that for them to see um, certain things, like, why is it so important for me, why does it feel so important that we can agree on certain beliefs. And it's just like, yeah, we don't have to agree on certain beliefs, like it's all a story anyways, like really our beliefs are stories. And yeah, so I was just kind of looking more into that, and I did end up picking up a book and read like a little interesting thing about the Trickster and Trickster Makes World. and by Lewis Hyde, and I'll share that with you. It's a Yorubic story about this trickster character named Ishu, and two friends that have made a lifelong commitment to their friendship, but they didn't consider or recognize Ishu, and so yeah, the trickster can come in and screw it all up. And shake it all up and wake us up. So it's kind of funny. Anyway, just do that to ourselves sometimes, and there's like, yeah, the self deception and the ego trickery or the ego flattery too, and us wanting to like reinforce who we think we are through our own stories and our own myths and our own lies, and like the identities that we're attached to and all of that. But I did yeah, I wrote a little bit last week on the 22nd about like what I was feeling was coming up in certain ways. There's interesting stories and myths playing out. It's an interesting, weird, stupid, crazy, silly, strange, magical, glorious, tragic, comedic, dramatic, tired, invigorated, energized, regenerating, continual saga of move fast, go slow. LOL, hurry up and wait. So great highs and deep lows, recenter, allow, let go. I'm here. Here in the eye of the storm, I observe letting go. So let love be born through this love. Love renews. All this love that lives, gives, is all around and within. Always. Always love, love always. The divided mind, the split. The polar extreme opposites. Fragmented, cut off, and separate. Polarized, one against one. Self-serving interests, survival strategies, false sense of control, domination, security, manipulation, unconscious shadow projecting, blaming, dumping, operating. Operating through lower emotions and the wounds of the lower ego. Face your fears and old stories. Look at your agreements, your stories, your old programs being purged, lies being cleansed and dissolved, offered back. Forgiving, surrendering, being willing. Developing gifts, strengths, and attending to my relationships and my relationship with myself, my relationship with Creator, my relationship with and to and for love. I am all of that. Claiming my power and owning my weaknesses. Letting go of the image, of the false self-image, to divinely embody my true love and visions. Union of spirit and soul, love, power, and wisdom. Tempering the wisdom, temperance, prudence, mindfulness, innocence, foolishness, experience, synthesis, balance, alignment, and resonance. And so, yeah. And then, yeah, I've been having some dreams and still writing those down and working with those. I'm not having like several every single night now, but I am recalling a couple during the week. So that's a good little balance. So I've had, yeah, some good insights through my dreams as well. So on the 23rd, I wrote, see others as themselves, even if I perceive them to be ill, confused, hijacked, unaware, or consumed. See others as they are. Witness their journey into wholeness. Be open to allow them their lessons and their ways of being. That would help bridge the gap and serve the whole. Use my discernment and be impeccable with my word. Do my best, let go of the rest. Allow and be here. Trust and say yes. So it is time to take actions and apply wisdom into practice. Share with others. Lead, live, embody all the love I want to see, be, experience, live, and free. Honoring the life I've been given to experience. Honoring my life I've been given to be. And so, yeah, just focusing on solutions and on growth and possibilities instead of the problem. And I went and saw friends that I'm working on, collaborating on a art project with. And she's an awesome medium and psychic, and she just offered a mini reading, and I just asked, yeah, what would best serve me to know right now for my highest good? And the card that was drawn was Never Ending Story, because it's a never ending story. And pretty much the message was telling me, like, yeah, tell some new true stories. Let the old stories fall away. And I'm ready to step into my power. I'm ready and willing. And yeah, this was coming through because it was like one of those things where I needed for me, like, to that to trust myself and to allow myself and to be willing to have compassion for myself, um, for my wounded child that's still wounded and still, yeah, feels kind of, yeah, exiled and rejected. So, yeah, all is well. So I'm ready and willing. I trust myself, and I trust myself with my power. I trust myself. I trust my power. I trust this love. I trust in my power. And just like, yeah, those kinds of affirmations. So just to help me, remind me, yeah, too, that it's okay for me to trust myself and to let go of this like false control, this false sense of control, and allow, yeah, what is to unfold with compassion, allowance, understanding. The wound is where the light enters us through and reminds us of who we are. True truth and true that. I am this joy. I am all that. I am this love. I am all that. I know I am. I am all that. And yeah, taking actions, making plans, taking names, and kicking sass. Feeling the fire under my bum to take the first steps, show up, and be love. Put thoughts, ideas, and inspiration into action. Inviting, praising, and participating. Showing up for it to come through and be manifest. Become manifest. So yeah, just trying new things, and I did start some new things to help me, to help support my wellness and my well-being. And one of the things that I chose to do after months of being nudged to was to start oil pulling again, and that's just something that's been beneficial for me and worked very well for me in the past, and it's just helping me like detox and helping me with my dental health and stuff, because I have had some dental issues, and yeah, some pain and stuff, and just feeling like, yeah, I could really use some extra help that way, like with my lymphatic system and all of that. So that's what I got to choose for me, and so I've been doing that consistently in the mornings when I wake up, because yeah, it's love I choose for me, self-care and self-love, and self-honoring, listening to my body and what my body's asking me. And yeah, so that support, life sustaining, life affirming, and yeah, showing up for me. And yeah, so just little things like that, like things that used to be totally easy, like not even second nature, habit. But like once we get out of the habit, sometimes it's like, I don't know what it is. It's like such a struggle sometimes. It feels like it anyways, and maybe that's just an old lie. Yeah, my saboteur uses, yeah, but yeah, just letting go of how I think it's supposed to go, or how hard I think it's gonna be. And just like, just start with one step. Just start with 1 minute. Yeah, just break it up into little pieces instead of this like all or nothing that used to like overwhelm me, you know. So I'm kind of, yeah, doing some good transmutation with that, and yeah, reminding myself what's really true. So that's been good. And yeah, just like the not knowing, and yeah, the fear of the unknown and all of that. And yeah, I think that's why we cling to what we know sometimes, even if it's not very comfortable anymore. It's the monster we know. And so, yeah, sometimes we go kicking and screaming, and sometimes we're just ready to let it go. So, there was something that I picked up the other day, which I thought was great too, as well. And I hadn't picked up this book in quite a while, and it is The Power of Myth, with Bill Moyers and Joseph Campbell. And this is awesome. And so she's saying, So, you say that mythology is the study of mankind's one great story. What is the one great story? What is that one great story? Campbell, that we have come forth from the one ground of being as manifestations in the field of time. The field of time is a kind of shadow play over a timeless ground, and you play the game in the shadow field. You enact your side of the polarity with all your might, but you know that your enemy, for example, is simply the other side of what you would see as yourself if you could see from the position of the middle. So the one great story is our search to find our place in the drama, to be in accord with the grand symphony that this world is, to put the harmony of our own body in accord with that harmony. When I read these stories, no matter the culture or origin, I feel a sense of wonder at the spectacle of the human imagination groping to try to understand this existence, to invest in their small journey these transcendent possibilities. Has that ever happened to you? I think of mythology as the homeland of the muses, the inspirers of art, the inspirers of poetry. To see life as a poem and yourself participating in a poem is what the myth does for you. A poem? I mean a vocabulary in the form not of words, but of acts and adventures, which connotes something transcendent of the action here, so that you always feel in accord with the universal being. When I read these myths, I am simply in awe of the mystery of it all. We can presume, but we cannot penetrate. That is the point. The person who thinks he has found the ultimate truth is wrong. There is an often quoted verse in Sanskrit which appears in the Chinese Tao Te Ching as well. He who thinks he knows doesn't know. He who knows that he doesn't know knows. For in this context, to know is not to know, and not to know is to know. Far from undermining my faith, your work in my mythology has liberated my faith from the cultural prisons to which it has been sentenced. It liberated my own, and I know what it is going to do. It is going to do that with anyone who gets the message. Are some myths more or less true than others? They are true in different senses. Every mythology has to do with the wisdom of life as related to a specific culture at a specific time. It integrates the individual into his society and the society into the field of nature. It unites the field of nature with my nature. It's a harmonizing force. Our own mythology, for example, is based on the idea of duality, good and evil, heaven and hell, and so our religions tend to be ethical in their accent. Sin and atonement, right and wrong. The tension of the opposites, love, hate, death, life. So, yeah. There's this one little thing that I'll just continue with this. And so, the tension of opposites. So Ramakrishna once said that if all you think of are your sins, then you are a sinner. And when I read that, I thought of my boyhood going to confession on Saturdays and meditating on all the little sins that I had committed during the week. And so, the mistakes and stuff that we make, and we just pick, and punish ourselves again and again and again and again for making that same mistake. And that's our sins and our limitations and things. And and that's just kind of silly. That's silly beings being silly. And so Campbell's talking about when he was a boy. When I read that, I thought of my boyhood going to confession on Saturdays, meditating on all the little sins I had committed during the week. Now I think one should go and say, "Bless me, Father, for I have been great. These are the good things I have done this week." So identify your notion of yourself with the positive rather than with the negative. You see, religion is really a kind of second womb. It's designed to bring this extremely complicated thing, which is a human being, to maturity, which means to be self-motivating, self-acting. But the idea of sin puts you in a servile condition throughout your life. But that's not the Christian idea of creation and the fall. Campbell. I once heard a lecture by a wonderful old Zen philosopher, Dr. D.T. Suzuki. He stood up with his hand slowly rubbing his sides, and he said, "God against man, man against God, man against nature, nature against man, nature against God, God against nature. Very funny religion." Well, I have often wondered what would a member of a hunting tribe on the North American plains think gazing up at Michelangelo's creation. Campbell. That is certainly not the God of other traditions. In other mythologies, one puts oneself in accord with the world, with the mixture of good and evil. But in the religious system of the Near East, You identify with the good and fight against evil. The biblical traditions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all speak with derogation of the so-called nature religions. The shift from a nature religion to a sociological religion makes it difficult for us to link back to nature, but actually, all of those cultural symbols are perfectly susceptible to interpretation in terms of psychological and cosmological systems if you choose to look at them that way. Every religion is true one way or another. It is true when understood metaphorically, but when it gets stuck to its own metaphors, interpreting them as facts, then you are in trouble. What is the metaphor? A metaphor is an image that suggests something else. For instance, if I say to a person, "You're a nut," I'm not suggesting that I think that person is literally a nut. Nut is a metaphor. The reference of the metaphor in religious traditions is to something transcendent that is not literally anything. If you think that the metaphor is itself the reference, it would be like going to a restaurant, asking for the menu, seeing beefsteak written there, and starting to eat the menu. For example, Jesus ascended to heaven. The denotation would seem to be that somebody ascended to the sky. That's literally what is being said. But if that were really the meaning of the message, then we have to throw it away because there would have been no such place for Jesus to literally go. We know that Jesus could not have ascended to heaven because there is no physical heaven anywhere in the universe. Even ascending at the speed of light, Jesus would still be in the galaxy. Astronomy and physics have simply eliminated that as literal physical possibility. But if you read Jesus ascended to heaven in terms of its metaphoric connotation, you see that he has gone inward. Not into outer space, but into inward space, to the place from which all being comes, into the consciousness that is the source of all things, the kingdom of heaven within. The images are outward, but the reflections is inward. The point is that we should ascend with him by going inward. It is a metaphor of returning to the source of Alpha and Omega, leaving the fixation on the body behind and going to the body's dynamic source. So, yeah. And poetry gets to the unseen reality. That which is beyond even the concept of reality, that which transcends all thought. The myth puts you there all the time, gives you a line to connect with that mystery which you are. Shakespeare said that art is a mirror held up to nature, and that's what it is. The nature is your nature. And all of these wonderful poetic images of mythology are referring to something in you. When your mind is simply trapped by the image out there so that you never make the reference to yourself, you have misread the image. The inner world is the world of your requirements and your energies and your structure and your possibilities that meets the outer world. And the outer world is the field of your incarnation. That's where you are. You've got to keep both going. As Navala said, the seat of the soul is there where the inner and outer worlds meet. And so I think I'll just leave it. Well, no, I'll just keep going because it's just good. The seat of the soul is where the inner and the outer worlds meet. So the story of Jesus ascending to heaven is a message in a bottle from a shore someone has visited before. That's right, Jesus did. Now, according to the normal way of thinking about the Christian religion, we cannot identify with Jesus. We have to imitate Jesus. To say, "I and the Father are one," as Jesus said, is blasphemy for us. However, in the Thomas Gospel that was dug up in Egypt some 40 years ago, Jesus said, "He who drinks from my mouth will become as I am, and I shall be he." Now that is exactly Buddhism. We are all manifestations of Buddha consciousness or Christ consciousness, only we don't know it. The word Buddha means the one who waked up. We are all to do that, to wake up to the Christ or Buddha consciousness within us. This is blasphemy in the normal way of Christian thinking, but it is the very essence of Christian Gnosticism and of the Thomas Gospel. So, yeah, I will leave it right there. But yeah, I super appreciated that, where it started with knowing. He who thinks he knows doesn't know. He who knows that he doesn't know knows. For in this context, to know is not to know, and not to know is to know. So that's pretty funny and pretty awesome. And dual nature and dual forces, and they are one, just at different degrees, and reconciling, and unifying and harmonizing. Yeah, this duality. And I got to work with a lot of that doing my shadow work this last year, because yeah, anger helped me become aware, like allowing my anger helped me become aware of like all of these inner conflicts that were within me that were asking for me to care. And yeah, and so it was like the first time that I was actually able to, I felt strong enough, to be able to work with it and work through it without needing to go back into old patterns of the addict or the martyr and the caregiver and the people pleaser. But it was very challenging, and it felt difficult in certain ways, but in other ways there was so much grace through the process. And so yeah, there's so much to say that relates in so many ways. um, so I was just reflecting like on all those things, and like the need for limits and limitations, and was just thinking, yeah, Saturn is the great teacher as well for the lessons and the boundaries, because that was such great lessons that I really, really needed, was lessons in my boundaries. What's mine, what's not mine. Because I've had such a desire to merge with everyone and everything. And yeah, that's kind of where I got tripped up in a lot of ways. And yeah, it's just like detachment and observation. That's what I really got to work with in certain ways. I never realized how to do that before, because I'm such a feeler that, yeah, I had never really learned how to like work with my emotions in those ways without like losing myself or getting carried away. So it was just kind of funny in those ways, as things that can be seen with hindsight now. But I flipped open this book today right before I started this video, and it's called Dropping the Struggle, and I hadn't picked this up for quite some time. It's been over a year, and I just had my cover sticking in here, and just opened it, and this is what the message is. So it says, yet love between two people is indeed a great work, and that work is often not easy. It is not easy under any circumstance to stay awake to our self-deceptions and unconscious expectations, even less so when it involves someone else who is bound to have misperceptions of his or her own. So inevitably struggle happens both inside us and between us. We struggle to find the right person, or we launch a campaign, covert or otherwise, to change the person we are with. Yet struggle is not the same as work. Struggle needs us to hold a position. It needs us to be right and the other to be wrong. Relationship work, on the other hand, needs us to engage in an honest and humble exploration of our vulnerabilities and those of our partner. Struggle tightens our defenses, work can loosen them. We struggle internally, too, with our beliefs and positions and fears. Why am I not in a relationship? What can I do to call in the one? In the words of the Clash song, should I stay or should I go? Do I want to take on the challenges of being alone or those of engaging in an intimate relationship? How can I honor my needs both for independence and for intimacy? And that was like one of my struggles. Yeah, because I do have such a need to be free, and I do have a deep need for intimacy. And it was like, yeah, reconciling those things. And that's part of like the idealist as well, and the romantic and the lover and the innocent. Yeah. So that was pretty awesome potency. I am as much a fool in love as anyone, but I have learned that as soon as we stop looking for answers in the self-talk in our head, as soon as we rest back from any position at all, we soften. Then we have enough presence of mind to bring our attention away from the debate and down into our heart, down into our physical presence. Then our body can speak to us. The more we place our attention there, the more a spacious silence can rise in our heart, and miracle of miracles, we may begin to feel the love that is always present, the love that we did not make or decide on, the love that both includes and transcends ourselves and our partner. In that moment, we no longer need to look for love outside from another person or people. We ourselves are that love. Stillness, equanimity, love. It seems paradoxical that we can experience these qualities when we step back, disengage, and detach from our thoughts and feelings. But this form of detachment is not a closing off or a disassociation from our experience, it is a deepening of it. The poet, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, Czesław, and then Milosz. His poem Love says, "Love means to learn to look at yourself the way one looks at distant things, for you are only one thing among many, and whoever sees that way heals his heart. A bird and a tree say to him, friend." Perspective or detachment heals the heart because it frees us from the illness of self-absorption. It's no longer all about us. It allows us to see that the other has needs too, that his point of view is as valid to him as ours is to us. We can see things in context as part of a larger picture. If we can look at ourselves this way, we may see that we are only one thing among many. So I'll leave it there. And yeah, it's pretty awesome how all those beautiful messages relate and synchronize for me and my work that I'm choosing for me, and this continuity and new beginnings and linking the old to the new, and linking above and below, and linking the inner and the outer, and that link. And those are the things that were coming up for me. A lot of myths and stories were coming into my awareness, and a lot of symbols and archetypes, of course, they always do. But what I thought was, is just really interesting, what was coming up for me. And I'll just share a little bit too about that. Some things that I wrote down: iridescence, and incandescence, currency, value, worth, lights playing, shining and reflecting, the mirror, axis Mundi, the navel of the world. Perseus warned not to look directly at Medusa, only at her reflection. He would be destroyed with a direct look, or direct knowing. Is this similar to not knowing God directly because of our limitations, or of how Icarus flew too close to the sun and his wings were destroyed and he fell to his death? The need for boundaries and a container and limitations. Sometimes things go topsy-turvy so they can fall right into place. Feels like a closure of some sort and the completion of certain lessons with community and individuality, belonging and becoming, and initiations into something new. New chapters and stories being written and authored, authorized, and realized, synthesized, alchemized, prophesied, purified, realized. So some of it had to do with pride and shame and guilt. And that was a big cause of sorrow, pain, and suffering. And it's all about healing the victim consciousness and the poverty consciousness that's been programmed. And it's some of that too, the shadow stuff is self-righteous entitlement, sacrificial lamb, and martyr, savior, slave, good girl, and good boy programming. The epicure, or the eternal child, the child that doesn't want to grow up and so must always be a codependent or a narcissist of some kind. And the damsel in distress, the covert, fragile narcissist dynamics. The orphan, the wounded child, and the rebel. The ghost, the addict, the whore, the fraud, the clown, and the trickster. The saboteur, the people pleaser, the giver, the peacemaker, the war maker. The villain, the idealist, the dreamer, the lover, the tragic romantic, the judge, the jury, and the executioner. There's the devouring mother, the sex kitten, the materialist, and the consumer. The scapegoat, the outlaw, the black sheep, the outcast, the hero, heroine, the angel, devil, saint, sinner, wise woman, healer, the fool, and innocent. So what do I get to choose? Love, forgiveness, passion, joy, gratitude, compassion, mercy, trust and faith, goodwill, strength, humility, receptivity, willingness, devotion, and appreciation. Am I coming from a place of love, or am I coming from a place of pride? My new story. Tell a story. Yeah. Tell a new story. I am love and love is me. I am my love for all of me. The rest is a story. For love is free, so let it go and let it be. Let love be free, for love is free. Surrender love and be with me. Be love. Be with love. Be love. Be free. And yes, the full moon that we just had. The full moon that we had. Yeah, that was good for release. And it was a powerful time for myth, ritual, and ceremony. And yeah, I was getting all of these different myths. So Leda and the Swan, for some reason, that myth was coming up for me. And also the Golden Fleece, the tale of the Golden Fleece. And I didn't realize like that those two myths, like they do have their own relation and connection. It has to do with the twins. And yeah, Castor and Pollux. So Castor and Pollux were two of the children that were born of two unions told in Leda and the Swan. And Castor and Pollux were also part of Jason's crew, part of the Argonauts. And so they're also the twins of Gemini, which like Gemini is my rising sign. And so, yeah, I've just been looking at certain myths and just looking at like, yeah, some of those elements and qualities in the story and just kind of blown away by some of it. And I talked to one of my friends the other day, and she told me that it was the Swan Moon, and I had no idea it was the Swan Moon. So I was like, oh, that's so cool, because Leda and the Swan came up, and then the Ugly Duckling was brought to my attention as well. And it was like, wow, because that's like a power story for me. It always has been that, because of my belief that I was a misfit and I was the ugly duckling, and realizing that I'm a beautiful swan, and I always have been that swan, and just got to mature and grow into myself and become more of myself, become who I am. And yeah, I'm feeling comfortable in my own skin and all of that. And the swan, yeah, is a beautiful totem and companion of mine. And yeah, so it just like all of these things, it just fell in and were aligned. And yeah, it was just, there's too much really to go into all of it, I feel like. But yeah, just getting those happy winks of mine. And yeah, this really amazing thing that I read about Castor and Pollux today, and just blown away. But I was looking at different things and writing different things down about like certain myths that were coming up, and just like looking into some of those things. And I do, yeah, want to share a little bit. And oh yes, and it was such a potent weekend for like deeper conversations and opening, like, and softening and opening, and wow, just clarity too, clarity as well. So this is my Mythic Astrology book by Liz Green, and oh man, this Gemini thing about Castor and Pollux blowing me away. My glasses are kind of dirty. Let's see. It's better. So Gemini. Twins appear. Oh, did I also mention I'm a twin? I'm a twin. Yes, I am. So twins appear in the midst of every ancient culture. Even our modern understanding of the divided ovum does not lessen the feeling of mystery surrounding two human beings who look so alike. In Greek myth, twins Castor and Pollux appear identical, but the latter was the divine son of Zeus, while the former was the mortal son of King Tyndareus of Sparta. When Castor was killed, Pollux wept bitterly over the kingdom of the dead. Zeus, taking pity on them, allowed them to alternate so that each could experience the spiritual heights and the mortal depths. Yet they could never be together in either realm. Castor and Pollux were thus divided by the gulf between the realm of earth and the realm of heaven. Other mythic twins, such as Romulus and Remus, were divided by the gulf between good and evil. In Roman myth, these twins, sons of the war god Mars, were suckled as infants by a wolf. When they grew up, Remus plotted his brother's murder, but Romulus killed him in self-defense and was honored as the founder of the city of Rome. From Greek myth also comes the twins Zethus and Amphion, divided by their sharply contrasting natures and abilities. Although both were benign, Zethus was a strong and energetic warrior, while Amphion was an artist and intellectual skilled in mathematics and the use of the lyre. In the landscape of Gemini, first of the air signs, there are always two roads which cannot be traveled at once. This dividing of the ways, reflected in the mythic image of the twins, portrays an inner tension deeply challenging to those in whom the sign is strong. All human beings have contradictions, but no sign is as multifaceted as Gemini. Living with the contradictions of one's nature is not easy, and often the solution seems to eschew one path in favor of the other. But both roads have value and are worthy of exploration, and, as with Castor and Pollux, any repudiation of half of oneself creates a sense of deep loss and a feeling of discontent and incompleteness. Those with Gemini emphasized in the birth chart need to make peace with themselves through consciousness of the quest for inclusive knowledge underpinning their diversity. Often the two roads of Gemini's nature are reflected in a gift for abstract thought or spiritual awareness, Pollux, the divine twin, contrasted with the pragmatic mind comfortably ensconced in worldly affairs, Castor, the mortal twin. The dividing of the ways may also reflect a moral contradiction where high ideals conflict with an impersonal amorality, as disturbing to the individual as it is to others who glimpse the dichotomy. Gemini is a fascinating sign because it presents a profound insight into life's diversity. In Gemini's world, no truth is the whole truth. No truth is the whole truth, and nothing exists without its opposite. Communication is also fundamental to this sign, for it is necessary to find a common language through which all the different dimensions of life can be linked together. On an everyday level, Gemini is restless, inquisitive, and reluctant to be identified exclusively with any one direction or viewpoint. That sounds like me. Eager for new stimuli and fascinated by human variety, Gemini resents being trapped by obligations which curtail the freedom to explore and exchange ideas. For this reason, many people in whom the sign is strong are happiest working in fields such as research, teaching, or media, which offer the challenge or translating one dimension of life into another. Gemini's observant eye and versatile intellect crave a range of experiences, something which more single-minded people might deem superficial. But the world is too large for the twins to limit the pursuit of knowledge to merely one subject. No single path, however noble, is likely to fulfill Gemini, for in keeping with its planetary ruler Mercury, this sign wears many hats and plays many parts. For those with a strongly Geminian nature, there is often a sense of being several different people. Walt Whitman, the 19th century American poet, was born with the sun in Gemini and wrote that he contained multitudes. Gemini is sometimes described as fickle, but this term, as any Geminian or Geminian knows, depends wholly upon one's frame of reference. Those with the sign emphasized in the birth chart are as capable of deep love and devotion as any other person, but love for this elusive air sign involves a relationship of minds as much as hearts and bodies, and loyalty, at the cost of frustration, depression, and endless boredom, may prove too high a price. Planets placed in Gemini will express energies and drives in a restless, sparkling, and quicksilver manner. Feelings, ideas, and physical energy may ebb and flow unpredictably, and it can sometimes be difficult to take a definite stand because so many points of view seem interesting and valid. Yet the key to that which unites the twins lies in the myth of Castor and Pollux, for it is the Olympian Zeus, giver of enlightenment, who directs their lives and fates. The unifying perspective of a philosophical or spiritual approach can give Gemini the sense that diverse manifestations of life are linked on deeper levels by pattern and meaning. For this reason, higher education is important for those in whom this sign is prominent. And if this has not been possible in youth, it may still be pursued in maturity. The broader the base of knowledge of life in the world, the easier it will be for Gemini to find creative connections, and in weaving together the disparate threads of knowledge feel centered and whole. Although the present emphasis in education is on specialized learning, Gemini's breadth of vision requires more room in which to maneuver. Science and the arts, business and spiritual concerns often sit side by side, and those with the sign emphasized on multiple talents are not unusual. Gemini symbolizes the gateway to a profound understanding of the many levels on which life operates. The mythic twins are embodiments of the life force at work through a wonderful variety of experiences and viewpoints, all of which comprise part of a great web of potential human understanding. Greatest of Gemini's many gifts is the ability to discover an individual language which unites this richly varied spectrum of life. Beyond the portal of birth, Gemini's road divides. The level path takes the traveler through an everyday landscape of cottages, farms, and all the paraphernalia of earthly life. The ascending path climbs the hills to the halls of higher learning far above the concerns of ordinary life. In the landscape of Gemini, those who live above must descend to speak to those who live below, and those on the level ground must learn a language more complex than common speech to understand the lives of those above. Yet the road is really one road, and the apparent diversity of languages and spheres of training conceals the underlying unity of the world. All knowledge is part of one knowledge. So, well, that's too cool. The Gemini, the twins. And there's one last thing to tie in to here. This is the story that I talked about at the beginning about this trickster character named Ishu and these friends that made a vow of friendship. And it's pretty short. So we'll just close with this. So I want to interleave a famous West African trickster tale, the Yoruba account of two friends who forgot about Ishu. This old world story provides a useful way to speak about the traps and snares of color in America. Among the Yoruba, everyone knows the story of the two friends who were thwarted in their friendship by Ishu. They took vows of eternal friendship to one another, but neither took Ishu into consideration. Ishu took note of their actions and decided to do something about them. When the time was ripe, Ishu decided to put their friendship to his own little test. He made a cloth cap. The right side was black, the left side was white. The two friends were out in the fields tilling their land. One was hoeing on the right side, the other was clearing the bushes on the left. Ishu came by on a horse riding between the two men. The one on the right saw the black side of his hat. The friend on the left noticed the sheer whiteness of Ishu's cap. The two friends took a break for lunch under the cool shade of the trees. Said one friend, "Did you see the man with the white cap who greeted us as we were working? He was very pleasant, wasn't he?" "Yes, he was charming, but it was a man in a black cap that I recall, not a white one." "It was a white cap. The man was riding a magnificently caparisoned horse." "Then it must be the same man, I tell you. His cap was dark black." "You must be fatigued or blinded by the hot rays of the sun to take a white cap for a black one." "I tell you it was a black cap, and I am not mistaken. I remember him distinctly." The two friends fell into fighting. The neighbors came running, but the fight was so intense that the neighbors could not stop it. In the midst of this uproar, Ishu returned, looking very calm and pretending not to know what was going on. "What is the cause of all this hullabaloo?" he demanded sternly. Two close friends are fighting," was the answer. "They seem intent on killing each other, and neither would stop or tell us the reason for the fight. Please do something before they destroy each other." Ishu promptly stopped the fight. "Why do you two lifelong friends make a public spectacle of yourselves in this manner?" "A man rode through the farm greeting us as he went by," said the first friend. "He was wearing a black cap, but my friend tells me it was a white cap, and that I must be tired or blind or both." The second friend insisted that the man had been wearing a white cap. "One of them must be mistaken, but it was not he." "Both of you are right," said Ishu. "How can that be?" "I am the man who paid the visit over which you now quarrel, and here is the cap that caused the dissension." And Ishu put his hand in his pocket and brought out the two-colored cap, saying, "As you can see, one side is white and the other is black. You each saw one side and therefore are right about what you saw. Are you not two friends who made vows of friendship? When you vowed to be friends always, to be faithful and true to each other, did you reckon with Ishu? Do you know that he who does not put Ishu first in all his doings has himself to blame if things misfire? And so it is said, Ishu, do not undo me, do not falsify the words of my mouth, do not misguide the movements of my feet. You who translates yesterday's words into novel utterances, do not undo me, I bear you sacrifices." So in Africa, this story is known in many versions and many locations. During the slave trade, it traveled to the Americas, where it necessarily took on different features. Where it necessarily took on different features. According to Lydia Cabrera, there is a Cuban version in which Ishu had shaved off the hair on one side of his head and kept beard and coif intact on the other. To compound the confusion, he changed himself into a white man on one side with hair, thus appearing fundamentally different to each friend. When the friends argue, one says he saw a black man and the other a white. And so this is from, The Trickster Makes This World by Lewis Hyde, and from the chapter that it's taken from is Frederick Douglass and Ishu's Hat. And it is interesting because of like some of this can relate to like what's happening in what's playing out in certain ways, like how we deceive ourselves and how we trick ourselves and how the trickster is at play to stir up the pot sometimes, to stir the pot. So it is very interesting. And I just thought that was kind of tricky. But it is funny because I was like kind of wondering how to reconcile that and to know that it's okay. Like my beliefs are just as valid for me as my loved ones' beliefs, are just as valid for them and just as right for them, for what they need to learn and for what they're here to learn and grow and experience. And so that was like just a perfect story for me because that's just like we are seeing things as we are in certain ways, and it's just like, well, allow them to see what they're just gonna see, and let's come back to our hearts, because really, and I had a conversation with my husband the other day, and I was just like, maybe it is about like, maybe we're just so mad, like, how dare you believe that because it doesn't reinforce my side, kind of a thing. And so I'm just wondering, like, how much of it is about pride, and about the need to be right or feel right or be seen as right and all of that. And so just gonna look into that a little bit more, and thank the story for that. But thanks for listening. And I did have like more to say about temperance, but I'll save that for next time. Tempering the wisdom. And I'll just leave you with something I wrote yesterday. Expanding and raising our frequencies and consciousness, purifying our minds, lives, and hearts. Self-mastery, intentions, and creativity. Support, honesty, authenticity, willingness, and humility. Simplicity, receptivity, trust, faith, and listening. Community, diversity, and unity. Empowerment, sovereignty. Inclusivity and boundaries, freedom, responsibility, self-ownership and accountability, potential and limitations, weaknesses and strengths, actions and dreams, showing up, being present, all in. Generosity, strength, fortitude, hospitality, gratitude, wonder, awe, acknowledgement, and praise. So thank you, life, for all these things. Thank you for the lessons, the love, and all that is being harmonized, synchronized, synthesized, blended into a harmonious whole. So, love y'all. Happy March 1st, 2021. And new beginnings. New beginnings for us all. See you later.